So let's jump into it. Core perimeter passing, actions, and protection. Trying to get the quarterback out of the box. You see a good look there, in a clean throwing situation, in a run pass position. That's what a lot of what our perimeter passing situation is designed to do. One main protection, a few actions. Turn back is our main protection with a few simple adjustments. It fits into our gap zone scheme family. We talk about full sprint out where we're really trying to break contain. I see a lot of guys talking about sprint out, but their protection is not set or designed to really get that quarterback outside. He's kind of put at a very tough angle, kind of compromised, pressure in his face. We try to avoid that if at all possible. We get into boots, primarily off a rocket toss action. And then we have a couple of blended plays that we'll do, but not a lot. A half roll pull up and a 3-step boot action. We also incorporate slow screens into this passing game. It's a good, very good perimeter pass game complements, and slow screens is one of them. So, again, just to be on the same page of our launch points, between the tackles, it's a pocket. Outside the tackles, a perimeter. Perimeter concepts we try to get to with our passing game. We're trying to break contain, as I said. I think you have to decide, or we are break contain or kind of a half setup somewhere in the pocket. And I think there's a difference. And you got to structure your protection to make that decision if you never have. We will only pull up as needed. And if we do, we want to basically create a pocket outside the box. Great tempo play because it's a gap zone scheme family protection. It's great to run on first down to control our line of scrimmage tempo and mix up the win part of football when we snap it. Quarterback a lot of times will serve as a true run threat, especially on sprint out. Release in number 3, if saying you're in trips, and not breaking contain because that edge stretches and comes upfield, to me is mostly ineffective, especially under center. It's a great complementary game that attaches to our perimeter passing game. Defenses must react quickly to the quarterback attacking the perimeter on sprints and boots, which sets up very good complements like screens, draws, also some blended plays. And we'll look at draws and things like that in a separate video we call connector or tweener plays. The quarterback and perimeter passing usually favors a smaller or running quarterback. Not that all our quarterbacks are small or built the same. We don't recruit guys, or we didn't recruit guys, so we got to take the best guy for that position and teach him the offense. But a lot of times an option quarterback can throw on a run pretty good just because he is a fairly pretty good runner. But you got to work on throwing on the run mechanics. I don't think it's a natural skill. It's got to be part of an everyday drill situation. That's what we do. Key points to me for quarterbacks throwing on the run is to always try to be in a position where you're moving toward your target and to get that front shoulder in line with your throw for accuracy and velocity. If you're not going downhill and you don't get those shoulders turned, unless you're just a freak of nature athlete, like you see some current pro quarterbacks do, I think you're asking for trouble. At best, you're asking for an incompletion, if not worse, an interception. We try to push and break contain on sprints and boots. Again, only pull up as needed. The defenses, I always tell our quarterbacks, defenses can't contain you if that's their mission. They can make you pull up. But we want it to be a little bit on our terms as well, outside the pocket. And we'll decide if we can set up or get up underneath it and keep moving. And there's other things you can take advantage if they're really bent on pulling you up. Always know that running the ball is part of the progression. So scheme-wise, again, gap is on, true gap protection. It's not front specific like rocket toss. We talk about gaps and edges mostly with our turnback protection. We do have a few adjustments and tags. We don't run them a lot. Deuce call comes up a lot. It's built into the play. It's made on sprint out at the line of scrimmage by players, especially our tieback, to avoid a hard edge player unblocked off the edge, where the fullback would have to try to handle him. That's the whole purpose of deuce. X and G schemes used to pull the play side or backside guard to free up the backs on our boot play and give us an extra play side blocker or even receiver as well. And we use a little, close the gap hinge technique that works well, ties into turnback protection, not hard adjustment at all to give us kind of a steal a man type of thing there. And then we'll use a tight end play side or backside, and a max call as needed to give us what we want to get edges and on those plays, especially sprint out. So our sprint out passing game is what we call 60 and 70. That's our big numbers. We tell our kids the best way to remember that is the 60 and 70 both start with an S. And so that's sprint and perimeter game. See another good look at a quarterback break and contain. That's a great throwing angle there. Nothing in his face. He's not trying to see through and over bodies. And this kid right here at quarterback for us was not very tall. So a perimeter passing game was very good for him. Full sprint out. Again, trying to break contain with mostly two-man routes is what our sprint out game is. The attached tie back is going to set the edge. And it may not, a lot of times it's on a defensive end type player. It's not a great personnel matchup, but the nature of this block, and we're off the line of scrimmage, allows success. Basic routes, you'll see mostly curl flat, simple as you get. Not fancy because we'll get simple coverage looks even in our trip sets. The quarterback's considered third threat on most of our two-man route combinations, but we can also get to a three-man route by usually using a three-man surface tackle over tight end to release number 3, which is usually our tie back. O-line rules, guys, I'm not going to read through this. Basically, we're going to step and hinge. If our gap is threatened now, we go now. If it's not threatened, we'll try to kind of create a wall right there and put pressure on whoever's on us to help the man behind us until our gap is threatened. Basically, if you get a threat, take it. If you don't, hold your gap. Look for loopers and guys trying to get behind blocks once they recognize turn back. If your guy does threaten your gap and runs upfield, lock on and take him and run him. We can't obviously go downfield, but somebody that tries to cross our face and go back around us, we'll try to punch it for a couple of steps and then reset and hold that gap. If there is no threat after about a 2 count, we don't teach this like a screen, but work play side, but continue to look backside because that's where all the threats are going is play side. Quarterback, we're gonna drop. You'll see some of these quarterbacks do it differently. What we try to do and over time evolve to is more of a first 3 steps is vertical and then get on an arc path to break contain. Top of your apex, it should be about 7 to 8 yards and around the tackle, C-gap area, and then we're downhill. We try to read on the run. We don't worry about reading our first 3 steps until we're in a position to see the perimeter. Fullback is a second contained blocker. He's going to go on a flat path for C-gap. It's a second contained to help the tie on a deuce call. We'll get to that in a second. He has a small adjustment. Once he sees or feels a threat, he wants to attack it with hard outside leverage, trying to capture the outside shoulder. He's like the quarterback's personal escort. If you can't leverage it because it's really upfield and crossing your flat line, then like rocket toss, we can't capture it, we'll kick it and create an underneath pocket for the quarterback. Play side ties, the edge setter. He's going to attack the first thing that's on or outside the tackle in a normal situation. We got to teach you normal before adjust it. If whatever he is determined as the first threat is on the tackle, then he's going to set and hinge and kind of invite him in the C-gap and slam the door on him. If the guy's standing up or kind of a wide stand-up edge player, then that's a little tougher. Then he's got to try to mirror and attack him when it's time and battle him at the line of scrimmage, base reach him, if you will. And then we got to be alert for deuce, which we'll get there in a special slide in a second. If he has a tight end, he releases as a part of the route concept, whatever that may be. He's got to know his complementary route rules. Backside tie, it's rare to have a backside tie in this position. If he does, he hinges like an offensive lineman and may have a clip or 2 with that. This is if we have a backside edge player outside the tackle, it's usually a tight end or a split receiver. Okay, route rules for the receivers, call side route rules, backside default rules, maybe on a drag tag. Tight end protection rules, he's tagged for routes. So for the tight end, we tell him if he's play side, he's like a tie back. If he's backside, he's like an old lineman, unless he's part of the route concept. Then he needs to communicate with that tackle that he's gone. Okay, let's look at a couple of protection situations before we get to film. So the triangle guy is the guy that the tie back has viewed as the most dangerous guy. He's going to set the edge on him. What technique he uses depends on the alignment and demeanor of that guy. but that is a normal situation of gap protection, 3-man route, quarterback break and contain. There we go. Call side going obviously to the right, lineman turn back left.